Welcome everybody to this week's show. What can I say? We are here live with our studio audience, virtual or not. You decide, it's up to you, at the beautiful and lovely Pinnacle Studio, as always, with Brandon.
I'm here.
We're here. So this week we were wanting to discuss a couple of things with you guys. This one being, we've talked a lot about various angles in terms of lifting and dieting and even taking you down some roads of various types of training and things like that. But this week we're going to look at cardio versus diet. And Brandon had to step out for a second, so I'm going to kill a little time. But cardio versus diet, it's kind of an age-old question. You know, is it are you able to out-train a bad diet? You know, or is it necessary to eat well along with doing cardio? Or is cardio necessary? I think that it depends on what you're going for. I think it depends on what you're doing. Diet is definitely necessary. Oops, hold on, I dropped something. Diet is definitely, or cardio, holy moly, I'm turning myself around. Diet is definitely necessary because we've established that, you pretty much eat for whatever your goal is, and you pretty much are utilizing your food as your fuel, and calorie deficit. We talked about loses weight, and if you've got over what your minimum food consumption for maintenance is, you're going to gain weight. It's kind of one of those things where that dictates. I think it unlocks and dictates everything that you were going through. Now with the cardio is more of a mechanism. Cardio is something that you do physically, and I guess obviously, but in a lot of cases, cardio is used for heart and lung health, which is important. When you're talking about heart and lung health, we all have at some point in time in our lives, we have to face the fact that our hearts aren't getting necessarily any better, and neither are our lungs. So cardio is definitely a different type of function. Most people utilize it for, a lot of people utilize it for that aspect of things. But thinking about it in terms of losing weight is also on the table. Basically, creating a calorie deficit. So that's where it comes back to the center again: is do we eat less or do we do more? Okay. Now, if we have anybody listening live, feel free to ask questions. We are live right now. Hence the reason I'm killing time until Brandon can get back into the room. So, I don't know. Me personally, I kind of float right about the middle. I think that there is something said for cutting cardio or for cutting calories, and there's something said for doing cardio. And I think that, again, going back into some of the stuff that we talked about previously, the type of macros, your macronutrients that you eat is important too. And when we get into macronutrients, we talk about your fat, your carbohydrates, and your protein. And having them balanced properly for your goals is very important. So when you're looking at what you're eating, that the term "you are what you eat" is very, very important. Because if you're eating, a ton of things, and let's say you're filling your carbohydrate bucket, if you will, you have to think about what type of carbohydrates you're eating. You have you can hear the voice of the big boss man walking past. I think he's giving a tour. But anyways, you have what you have. Your carbohydrates. You could be eating a bunch of brown rice and whole wheat products and multigrain and things like that, which I still don't even eat a lot of. But But you could be eating a lot of that type of thing versus eating a bunch of suckers and Snickers and things like that are full of sugar. Those are going to do different things to your body, and those are going to basically have an effect on the way your body looks. So, depending on what your goal is, depends a lot on how you're going to respond to whatever the cardio or the diet is that you are on. If you go high in protein, it depends on how high you go. I remember in school listening to the teacher speak about this type of thing. The percentages, I believe, were something like, for a sedentary person, you're going to want 0.5 grams of protein for your consumption per pound of body weight. So if you weigh 100 pounds, if you're sedentary, you're going to want about 50 grams of protein a day. If you're a little bit more active, they said something around 0.65%. And then if you're super active, they were saying something along the lines of, I think somewhere between the lines of 0.7 and 0.8% are what you want. However, a lot of people in the workout world, in the fitness and bodybuilding and things like that, I've heard something as high as 2 grams of protein per pound of body weight. But you have to remember, those still are calories. There's about 4 calories per gram of protein. So it's still going to, if you have more calories in your system than you're burning, you're still going to gain weight. So you have 4 calories per gram of protein, 4 calories per gram of carbohydrates, and then you're going to have 9 calories actually per gram of fat. Fat is interesting because it's more of a concentrated form of energy, because that's all calories are, is energy. And this is where another debate comes into, is, do we count the macros? Do we worry about macros? Do we worry about calories? I think we worry about everything. But the interesting part of the fat aspect is that you have several different types of fat, the same way you have several different types of carbs, but they're all 9 grams or 9 calories per gram of fat. So the more fat you eat, the more sustained, the more concentrated energy you're putting into your body. However, your body has more work to do to get rid of it. So when it comes time to utilize the stored body fat, your body tends to go more for the carbs first, and then the protein second, and then the fat last, because again, your body wants to store that. It wants to utilize it as sustainable, highly concentrated energy. So if you ever go and you buy bleach or something, or Lysol or Pine Sol, and it's a concentrated form of it, you're looking at something around 1 scoop or 1 capful per gallon of water, and that's the same principle. You're getting 9 calories per 1 gram of fat, the same way you're only getting 4 calories per 1 gram of protein or carbohydrate. So it's, your body kind of wants to hold on to it because again, it's not as readily available. It doesn't want to spare it. So that's the thing, is how do we figure that? It really kind of depends on your model and what your body's used to. We've talked several times about, I know Brandon can eat a ton of food and put away lots of different types of food and doesn't seem to gain an ounce of fat. Me, I could take a long, deep breath, in a pastry shop and put on 25 pounds. We have to make sure that we know what our body does, and we have to understand that, and that's where sometimes utilizing a little bit of help to guide us through our diet or to guide us through our training is definitely necessary. So, getting into, I'm going to go ahead and dive into it a little bit, cardio versus diet. So when we're talking, it's kind of hard to bounce this off of, because I know Brandon probably has some different ideas. But as far as cardio versus diet is concerned, we're also, as far as diet and cardio are concerned, they're both, diet, I think, in my opinion, is a little bit more necessary than cardio. I know there's a lot of people that are into the competing thing, and they are doing and they do high level training, and they look really great. You know, they tend to. I see a lot of them rely on their diet first and cardio second, and that's just kind of how it is. You know, the diet is basically something that is the foundation of all of your work. Hold on a second. It's the foundation of your your training. You know, you train to fuel you eat to fuel your training. And let me backtrack here. When I say diet, I don't necessarily mean, you know, somebody that is on a diet. I mean basically what you eat in a daily basis. Okay, when you're eating something that is considered your dietary habits, right? So it's your diet. Now when you're thinking about the diet, you know, that is what you're eating to sustain your workouts, to sustain your body. You're eating calories to go into muscle repair. You're eating calories to go into energy. You're eating calories for those purposes, and then your macros fall into all that category. Whereas with your cardio, it's more of something that your diet will help. It'll fuel. It's more of a tool, I think, to help get you to your goals. And again, it really just depends on what your goals are. You know, it depends on whether you're trying to gain weight. If you're trying to gain weight, you know, I don't necessarily see a lot of people doing cardio at all. Do I think that's a good idea or a bad idea? You know, I don't know. I know that, again, I know if the more you weigh, the more important cardio is, because you want to make sure that your blood pressure stays nice and low, and you want to make sure that your heart rate is nice and low. You don't want to have any tacky heart rate, tachycardia, so you know, higher heart rates, higher blood pressures, and stuff like that. I know cardiovascular activity at a certain rate helps with cholesterol. So the more you eat, the more you weigh, your body starts to kind of spill, and I don't mean spill in terms of competition and eating, you know, carboning up too high. I mean it in terms of those things that want to be in homeostasis. Again, like your cholesterol, your bad cholesterol levels, your sugar levels, the lipids in your bloodstream, your blood pressure, all of those things at some point in time, and they will fight you. You know, I always tell people that the way people that are heavy, the way your body fights being thin is the way your body fights getting heavy. It's just that getting heavy is not as fun, or getting heavy is more fun than getting light. I know on my road to 270 pounds, it was filled with lots of good times, you know, lots of cheeseburgers and beer and things like that. But we don't register that because it's a good time. It's several memories and things like that. Whereas when we lose weight, it's harder and it's no fun and it's dedication and it burns. You know, your muscles burn, your lungs burn, everything burns, and you get sore and you have to create a routine and things like that. So we tend to think about that as being harder, but it's the same thing. Your body wants to stay in homeostasis, and you know, all of those blood conditions, you know, like the diabetes and the heart disease and things like that. Your body tries to fight that, but when we keep pushing, inactivity, and we keep pushing the bad foods into us, eventually it's going to spill over. So again, if you're trying to gain weight and you're eating calories for gaining weight, cardio is probably a good thing to do, at least a little bit of it, again, to help with your overall health. When you're dieting, it's only going to help and it's only going to fuel your diet.